You see those North Korean military parades, right? There's always one face that stands out, with this faint, almost serene smile. That's Kim Yo Jong, the sister of Supreme Leader Kim Jong Un. And behind that smile is a reputation that's earned her a pretty chilling title, the world's most dangerous woman.
And that right there, that's the central puzzle of Kim Yo Jong. The world first met her as this smiling diplomat at the Olympics, a symbol of potential peace. But inside the secretive walls of North Korea, she's known as the Iron Fist of Pyongyang. So how can both of those things be true?
So you have to ask, how did the smiling sister of a dictator become a figure so feared that experts are now warning she could be even more brutal than her brother? To really understand that, we need to go back and look at where she comes from.
Okay, so first things first, her power. It all starts with her bloodline. Born around 1987, she's not just some high-ranking official. She's the youngest daughter of the former leader, Kim Jong Il, and the full sister of Kim Jong Un. In a place like North Korea, that lineage basically makes you royalty. It puts you right at the absolute center of power.
And look, this isn't just media hyper-speculation. Intelligence agencies and people who study North Korea for a living, they all agree. Her quiet, calm demeanor is just a mask for a really calculating and ruthless political operator. The consensus is crystal clear. She should not be taken lightly.
Could really get who the Iron Fist is, we have to rewind, go back to her past. An upbringing that was honestly shrouded in total secrecy. For years, she was like a ghost, an invisible princess who was deliberately hidden from the world, all by the regime's careful design. So take a look at this timeline. It pretty much shows a life lived completely in the shadows. She gets sent to Switzerland in 1996 under a fake name. She's brought back to North Korea, and then, poof, nothing. She completely vanishes until 2011 when she suddenly pops up at her father's funeral standing right next to her brother. For anyone watching, the message was obvious. She was now in the inner circle.
And this really captures just how bizarre her childhood was. I mean, on the surface, they're just a couple of ordinary kids living in a Swiss apartment, but that could not be farther from the truth. Every single move was watched by officials, by relatives, and by a whole team of undercover bodyguards. It was basically a carefully staged performance managed by the entire North Korean state.
But here's the thing. She didn't just inherit power. She meticulously, deliberately built it. From the shadows, she emerged as the chief architect of her brother's public image, and in doing that, she carved out her own path to serious influence.
For years, this is what the world saw, right? The dutiful assistant, always in the background, holding his papers, even his ashtray. She played that part, the minor aide, absolutely perfectly. But underneath it all, her rise was calculated, it was strategic, and it was so much bigger than anyone realized.
Her climb up the ladder was, well, it was incredibly fast. Think about it. At just 23, she's basically her brother's chief of staff, managing all his travel and security. A couple years later, bam, she's a vice director in the super powerful propaganda department. By 2015, she was pretty much its chief, the person shaping everything the entire nation saw and heard.
And her job wasn't just, simple PR. Her mission was way bigger. She was tasked with transforming her brother's image into that of a god king, trying to recreate that same revered cult of personality that surrounded their grandfather, the nation's founder, Kim Il-sung. She controlled every official photo, every state-approved story, every single piece of the myth.
But see, all that work, that was happening behind the curtain. Then, in 2020, that curtain was ripped right down, and the world finally got to hear the voice of North Korea's real Iron Lady.
So, the big turning point? April 2020. Kim Jong Un just disappears from public view, and the rumors start flying. Is he dead? Is he seriously ill? The whole world is holding its breath, wondering who's got their finger on North Korea's nuclear button.
And then, out of nowhere, the silence is broken. Not by some general, not by a party official, but by Kim Yo Jong herself. In her very first public statement, she just lashes out, dismissing South Korea's concerns as a frightened dog barking. Just like that, the smiling diplomat was gone. The message to the world was unmistakable. There would be no power vacuum. If the brother was gone, the sister was ready to rule. And when Kim Jong Un finally did reappear weeks later, her authority wasn't diminished at all. It was strengthened. She was put back in her post with even greater power.
And make no mistake, her threats are not empty. She is allegedly the architect of some of the regime's most ruthless acts. The execution of her own uncle in 2013, the assassination of her half-brother, and the demolition of that liaison office, which was a huge symbol of peace with the South. There are even reports that officials have been executed just for failing to show her proper respect.
And her venom isn't just for people inside North Korea. In 2023, she goes on the record calling the President of the United States, Joe Biden, an old man with no future. I mean, that kind of direct personal insult from the regime, that's rare. It just shows you how confident she is. And she wasn't done. She then calls the President of South Korea America's hungry dog. This kind of language, it's so aggressive. A lot of experts say it's even more over the top than her brothers. When she gets angry, she really does not hold back.
So when you put all of this together, it leads you to one really unavoidable conclusion. She's not just the sister anymore. She's not just an advisor. She's basically a co-dictator, and she's the heir apparent.
This number right here, it tells you so much. In just a short amount of time, she was issued over 40 official state declarations in her own name. That's a job that was historically only for the supreme leader. She's not just speaking for the regime anymore. In a lot of ways, she is its main voice.
Yeah, her official title might still be something in the propaganda department, but her real title? De facto number 2. She's on the highest decision-making body, and she's got her hands in every major policy, from what's happening at home to foreign threats.
So you have to ask the big question. What happens if Kim Jong Un is suddenly out of the picture? Well, defectors, experts, they all seem to agree. The line of succession is pretty clear. His own kids are way too young to rule, so the power would go directly to the next person in that royal bloodline. And that person is Kim Yo Jong.
Which leaves us with this final, kinda chillin' thought. The question isn't really if she's dangerous anymore. We know she is. The real question is, with her proven ruthlessness, her absolute power, and her finger on that nuclear button, is the world truly ready for what comes next?